Hello, everybody. We are in the midst of a massive gem squeeze. Everything is down. Current events have pushed down the crypto market and the VV market. I call it the Great Reset because we basically have been teleported back in time 6 months. So what do we do? So a lot of people have been asking me, in the midst of this kind of never-ending gem squeeze, right? A lot of prices have fallen from their all-time highs, 50%, even more. And so people, is this going to be, is this the way it is? Is it ever going to go back up? What's going to happen? I haven't been around the longest, but I've been around, since October, so 6 months, maybe 7 months. And I've definitely seen some dips, but none that has been as sustained or as significant as this. So it's definitely interesting, and it's kind of like I've been calling it the Great Reset. It's like an opportunity for everybody to kind of buy at some relatively low prices. Now, not as low as I saw way back when I started, but definitely things have come down from the all-time high. So what do? I have 3 things for you, so let's get to it. So I think it really depends on your financial situation. There are world events now that are dipping lots of different markets. And so even if you might have had money elsewhere, unless you just have raw cash, if you were to go somewhere else, that particular market might be down. So it might be difficult to pull money out of there. So what do? So the first thing that really is probably wise and difficult and maybe not that much fun is do nothing. You just got to sit tight. It's difficult. But I don't really think you, maybe in the sense of do nothing, you just leave everything alone in VV, all your collectibles and whatnot. Perhaps if you have some OMI, leave it alone, or other investments. And really that's what I'm doing. But you're not really doing it in nothing. There's a lot of things you can do. You can do more research and learn about this technology. You can reach out and find new connections. You can, do other things outside of VV or other things, read some comics. There's a lot of different options during this period where we kind of wait and see what's happening. Obviously, keep watching the market, and eventually things are going to bounce because we know that this is an explosive market, and that's why we're all here. So that's the first thing. I know it might not be as sexy as other things, but definitely think about doing nothing and taking a little break. Okay, what is the second thing you might want to do? The second thing is, if you do have some additional cash, is to buy the dip. So obviously most of these things are way down. You want to be calculated. There's lots of different tools and channels that go into various things. I talk here about buying common comics and stacking things or stacking other things that are under 100, something you might want to look into. As I've always said, I always say try to find collectibles or comics, first appearances or first editions that are super popular. Disney or Marvel characters that everybody knows. And so those are generally ones that you want to go after, and obviously some of the season 1 ones like Batman, Todd, etc. Those are always great ones, but those are pretty expensive. But things are down now, so if you can buy them, that's another option. And for me right now, I am putting a little bit of money. I put a lot of money in the beginning. Over the last couple of months, I really haven't been putting in as much money. And so I have been looking to, use some of the profits that I still have, and you see me selling off common comics here and there, and using those gems to buy the dip. So that's been my strategy. All right, the third one, which I want to talk about, which I think is the one that a lot of people are trying, but I want to talk about more of my strategy for it, and that is you're not going to put any more money in, and you basically a bunch of your stuff has gone down. And I think a lot of people are in this boat. So what do we do in this situation? So what I would say is you need to look at your collectibles or comics and identify which ones are kind of the tier A, tier S, grail level collectibles. And I don't think you want to touch those. Those are good investments, we know, and are probably going to bounce and go back up. So if you can kind of figure out which ones are not in that category, now those are ones. So you may look at collectibles that aren't as popular. You maybe bought them because you really loved them at the time, but are they going to rebound, and how fast are they going to rebound? So really now you're in this game of identifying, if you were to sell it, take the loss, could you put it somewhere else and it would bounce back faster than this other collectible? So There are collectibles that we know. For example, I'll use the battle statue, the Batman and Croc one, which I love. I really want to get that one. But, out the door, people are really excited about it. I think it was selling, 1,500, something like that. And it's really come down, And so that particular one might not bounce back very quickly, or might not bounce back at all, because I guess there's there's the first appearance of Croc in there, but that's not a significant character, and it's a villain. So something to think about. Maybe you have to eat the loss, but the gems that you make there, you can stack into something, and then you can start building back up. And that's so difficult. I remember talking to a whale about Captain America #1, which isn't the first appearance of anything. I think at the time, a lot of people thought it was the first appearance of Sam Wilson, but it wasn't. And so people have that comic. It had come down a lot, and my advice was to perhaps eat the loss, use those gems, and try to build back up. And eventually, because a lot of these people that I was talking to are really savvy, they're going to be able to find different undervalued collectibles. If you give them, 500 or 1,000 gems, they are very, very good about making money off of that. So that's what you need to identify. And so one of the things two things you want to look at when you're looking at your collectibles that are not grails is you want to look at the percent loss, but you also want to look at the gem loss. So what do I mean by that? So let's say you bought something for 100 and now it's at 50, so you've lost 50 gems. 50% loss. But let's say you bought something at 1,000 and it was a 50% loss. Now it's 500 gems. It might be really difficult to make up that 500 gems, whereas 50 gems, that's almost a drop. Maybe you could make that back. So it's the amount of gems lost is another thing you want to look at. Because if you have, and I've talked about this before, where you want to have some gems. You want to have gems for the drops. Now, some of the, we just had the 007 drop, the car with 1,000. That's a lot of gems. Most people don't have that. And it was so hard to get that one. It really, do you want to try to, free up gems for that? No. But we know that during the week there's going to be comics. Those are generally around $7. And there's going to be other drops between, around 50 gems or something like that. You want to be able to go for those because, of course, if you can hit one, if you really want the collectible, it's exciting. But if you can hit one and it goes up, if you get an ultra, or if it's a blind box, you can really, really kind of score the lottery on one of those. So you want to have gems for that. So freeing up some of these gems, even if it's 50 or 100 or 200, will give you some flexibility to try to look at different options and how to start building your gem stack back up. If you don't have any gems, it's just really, really difficult. So the other thing you want to look at when you're selling is the floor and what they call how thin the floor is. And you've probably heard that term before. I'll explain it. Maybe you already know what it means. What it means by is when you're looking at all the collectibles that are being sold, what are the jumps? So maybe there's 2 or 3 of them at 100, and then the next jump is all the way to like 500. So we would call that a thin floor. In other words, if these couple collectibles sell, then it's going to jump in price. So when you're looking at selling one of these non-grail collectibles, you're like, oh, I'm going to sell this one, but if these 3 were to sell, the next jump to something very, very expensive is right there. So that would be an example of one you don't want to sell, because you want to wait for those couple to sell, and then you could maybe sell it at a higher price quickly. But you also want to try and, and like I said, there's a lot, Cherry Charts, Economy Wiki, there's a lot of different channels that are looking at the market now, and trying to identify the trends there before you just go and floor something. You want to take your time with that for sure. So those are the 3 things I have for you now that we're in the midst of this great reset. I do think things are going to pick back up. It may take a little bit longer than we want. And we're getting all kinds of new catalysts. MTL is coming, which is kind of causing a gem squeeze right now. But in the end, we know this is something that has to be done and is going to bring more users to the platform. So thanks for watching my video. Take care. I'll talk to y'all soon.